I think we're live now.
Pretty sure. Yeah, we're doing it.
Here we go. We'll see how things go, man. We're learning right now too. This is all new, right? Never gone live.
So, Timmy, first question I have for you is, what is the biggest challenge you've had being an entrepreneur dad?
Entrepreneur dad?
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's a good one. So just balancing time. When Caden was first born, it's my youngest son. He's 4 now, but when he was first born, everything changed as far as just how I spent my time in general, really how I thought about time. So before, when I didn't have kids, I would go to the office or do the things that I need to do, go shoot a video, whatever. And I didn't have the same awareness that I developed when I first had my son. So I think just time management, or just uh, thinking about time in general, just differently, as far as like when I go and do something, if I travel, if I'm going to go, work, I'm thinking about what's the ROI going to be way more, because I'm spending time away from the wealth of my kids, right, and my family. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things. Being an entrepreneurial dad is changing the way that I time block and just track and manage my time. Let me ask you that question. What about for you? What's been pivotal?
Yeah, so I would say you don't really understand how difficult life is until you have a kid. For real, like some of my buddies that are entrepreneurs that don't have kids, I just tell them, wait till you have a kid, just wait, because it's impossible. And give me 1 second, my dog. Get out. Answer that question. That's super annoying. That's why we don't do live streams on the live. Anyway,
we're sending it. I'm gonna see if I can put on headphones too.
The reason why I would say the reason why having a kid is difficult is because, like you said, you no longer just get to do things at any time that you want to do them. It takes planning. Like everything takes planning. And that is something that you just can't prepare for. Like you can't just tell someone, hey, do these exercises and this is what it's going to be like. No, because once you have a kid, you're sleep deprived, then, wifey's upset because she's hormonal, then you're tackling the world and you have just everything is kind of hectic at the house. And even if you have a nanny or someone to help, family, whatever, it's still just super stressful. So I would say you're never really going to be ready to have a kid and build a business, but it's just something that you got to do at some point if you want to have a kid. And I think it's not necessarily a bad thing to not want kids. And at one point in time, I didn't really want a kid. I just wanted to be like the entrepreneur who travels the world and, just kind of does whatever and fucks around. But then eventually I realized I want to have a child to where I can instill what I've learned, into them, and just kind of experience things again in life through them vicariously. And it was definitely super beneficial having a kid because it made me grow up. That's another thing that happens. I think a lot of people have stunted growth by never having a kid. Once you have a child, it's like you're performing what you were intended to do as a human being by having a child. People who have no child are oftentimes almost immature or selfish. And we're all selfish to an extent, but there's a forced growth that happens when you have a child that you can't really explain, but when someone else has a kid, it's like you're part of the same club. You know what I mean? Like I know there's immediately a sense of not trust, but understanding when you tell me that you have a kid and I have a kid and we're both entrepreneurs and we're both building a business. We both know that we've been through some tough shit. It isn't easy. And again, there's a level of respect there. And it's not that I look down upon people that don't have kids, but I've met some super successful people that are, multimillionaires that don't have kids. And it's like, dude, I've experienced just a whole different aspect of life that you haven't, and also generated the millions online. And it's just this, I don't know, man. It's like it's hard not to not look down on someone, but it's like, yo, you're just missing out on this whole other aspect of life.
There's a depth to having children. There's higher highs and lower lows, right? And it's so there's a richness there, like with the higher highs. It's indescribable. Somebody that doesn't have, kids, to explain what it's like when your kid walks for the first time, or you know, uh, says your name, or cuddles you, gives you a hug, or says something super sweet. It's also indescribable to, the negative side, the lower lows, when they're not going to sleep when they need to, and they tell you no, and they're making messes, and you can't just leave the house and go to the gym, and be selfish like you were saying in the past. It is a it is a new depth of life, but I wouldn't change it for anything. My kids are super special, and it's created a whole new set of challenges. Of course, there's day, and I think it's important for guys to be honest too. Like, a lot of guys aren't really like, I'll be very transparent and say having kids sucks at times, and I don't feel like enough people are like give themselves permission to say that, or they feel like they can't say that. And I think it's just a really real thing to realize, like, having kids sometimes, uh, it's terrible. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. But there are, of course, times when it's the most amazing thing in the world, and it's not like you can, for me, I'm never going to quit or give up being a dad. I have that title forever. I know some people run away, and I have zero respect for guys that choose to do that, take the easy way, and abandon. But yeah, man, I can't imagine not having kids anymore. Now that I do have kids, I mean, can you, like, what would you be doing if you didn't have your kid now? Like,
Yeah. That is that's the question, right? Like what, I mean, I'd probably be doing what I'm doing right now. I may be further ahead financially because I could just do whatever I wanted when I wanted. Maybe there's more networking opportunities, but just in the long run, what's the point of making all this money? What's the point of gathering all this, success, all these things, if you don't have anyone to hand these things or these learning lessons down to? So, like, there are going to be so many people that focus purely on themselves throughout their prime years and years where they could have had family, that didn't have a family, and they reach a point where they're so fucking lonely. And that's like, it's definitely sad. It's sad. A lot of people out there are going to be extremely lonely later on in life because they didn't have one kid or multiple kids. They thought it's what they wanted. And that goes to show that, you're constantly evolving. So what you want right now may not be what you want in the next 10 or 15 or 20 years. You may think, oh, I want to travel the world and do, all this stuff, not have any responsibilities. But, 10 to 15 years down the road, you're going to want someone by your side that again, you can have these experiences with. And that's like, just your child. You're not going to experience that type of love, even with a partner too. Like, I'm sure that you can attest, the way that you love your wife is way different than the way you love your child. It's completely
yeah.
different, So anyway, but
And talking about, like, measuring success, right? I think that's what you're getting at. It's like, how I think how we measure success changes over time, and I think that's probably, if I could go back, like, that's probably the biggest thing that shifted or changed, as an entrepreneurial dad, is my measure of success switched from stuff, possessions, like, acquiring certain numbers in my bank account, to now, like, providing a great life and a foundation for my kids, like, more so legacy versus just, um, money, and yeah. So, like, my measure of success now is, did I live on my own timeline, or did I live on someone else's timeline? Am I successful, or am I significant? Did I make change? Was I doing good? Was I honoring my God, right, with my behaviors, my actions? Uh, was I singing my song and dancing my dance for the right reasons? And I think when those things are aligned, you are successful no matter what the numbers end up looking like, because you're now living on purpose and living in the moment. And I think, again, coinciding this back with your kids, they're going to see that. As kids, man, um, it's less about what you say and more about how you do and what you're actually doing, your activities. And kids are like little video cameras, man. they they look at you, they watch you, they listen to you, and
Yeah,
give it.
Madeline, this was crazy. The other day, Madeline and I were hanging out on the couch, and Annie was on the couch too, and um, she starts singing randomly. She goes, "Sweet Caroline," and then Annie looks over and he goes, "Bum bum bum," and we both look at him and we're like, "What the fuck? Like, how did you know that song?" You know?
All right.
And he's recording. It's like you don't even know that song, but you knew how to finish it,
Yeah.
and that just goes to show. But um, let's move on to a different subject. So well, also too on here, I don't really like how it says my name. Can we change that? Because if we were making this into short form content, we want to have this. We don't want that on the
Yeah,
screen. We don't
I
want
think
name
so.
tags on the screen.
See if you can. You should be able to remove it, like under edit name. Here you go. See if this removes it. I'm gonna press save. Oh, you have to enter something. I put a space and it just put a dash there. I don't know. Is there a way to remove it? There's got to be. Hang on. Banners, show display name. There we go.
There we go. Yeah,
So that's
way
that's
better.
better, right?
Yeah.
This is cool, man. Like I can see, like I'm gonna get used to this. And look,
Yep.
we're testing this. This is just a trial run. We can
Yep.
go through some Q&A and
So
um
I know that you've been working on your credit, and your credit score just increased to what, like an 800?
yeah, dude, I'm almost at 800. And a few years ago, I didn't have any like credit history at all. And it was out of, I think I was looking to get a business. Was it business line? I can't remember. I was looking to leverage capital for some sort of opportunity. And because I didn't have any history, I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And I was like, man, this sucks. And I'd lived my whole life like having money just in the bank or buying things in cash, kind of the Dave Ramsey style. And this was the first time in my life where credit was harming me negatively. And I just had to wrap my whole mind around it. I had avoided it like the plague. I was in the military and I had money, and then I did contracting. I had money. I had a small life, so I didn't have to like fund college or fund, a new car, things like that. I just typically had money. So my first experience with credit was, or trying to get like a business loan, was negative, and that forced me to dig into, okay, well, what the heck is my credit score? What is a credit score? How does this game work? And I think at the time I had a 650 something, 657, something like that. And yeah, a buddy of mine had showed me what he was able to do with increasing your credit score, and kind of broke things down and explained it. And he's helped me almost get to an 800 now, which is really cool. And I don't know how I'm going to use it. I want to be able to use credit if and when, the time comes, right? So that's kind of
Yeah,
my
it's
my quick
definitely,
experience.
I would say that it's much better to have credit and not need it than need it and not have it, especially when the right opportunity arises. If you're able to utilize the bank's money to create some profits or cash flow on a monthly basis, there are a lot of opportunities out there that will present themselves over the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. So it's good to have a great credit score. It's an asset. And most people don't know how the bureaus work or how creditors report to the bureaus. And like your buddy did, this guy Joey, I jumped on a call with the guy that fixed your credit and got
Mhm.
an understanding of what he was doing. So basically what happens is there are consumer protection finance laws. Most people don't know that these laws exist. They don't know what the laws state. And these creditors are oftentimes breaking the law by reporting certain things to the bureaus, and people who understand these consumer finance protection laws can go after these creditors. They can go after the bureaus, these entities, for reporting these negatives against you. So you can utilize attorneys or you can do it yourself and you can get all these negatives off your file. And let's say you were in debt, even, right? Like I would say there's two phases. Phase one is you get negatives off of your credit report. And then phase two would be you actually sue the creditor and you win back your money plus penalties, essentially. Like I know that you had roughly what, like 8 different negatives on your file, somewhere around there, right?
Yeah, somewhere around that. I'd have to ask Joey. I think that
Yeah,
sounds
but I
about
know.
right.
So when I was talking to Joey, he told me that he's going to be suing all the different entities that were holding negatives against you. It's about like 8 of them, and he's confident that he's going to win back like $2,500 per basically negative, and that would be like around that would be around $20,000 that you're putting in your pocket. And
Yeah.
it's not like you're doing anything. I mean,
No,
you're
I didn't.
simply
All I did was provide him the reports. I can't even remember the site that I went to. He basically guided me through the whole thing. But I went and got the reports, and then he found all the discrepancies, and he's done all the letters. I think I paid for stamps one point, or offset his cost for stamps. But he wanted to show me this process because there could be opportunity here where it opens up as a service for other people and maybe have a different experience with credit than I do, right? A lot of people have totally jacked up their credit score or um yeah, or being affected negatively even more so than I was because I didn't really even use it before, right? Like I maybe had a cell phone bill and an internet bill, but I didn't even have a car note for the longest time. Like my experience through my life, because a lot of times, dude, I lived overseas for a long time, or I was deploying like every 9 months. It's like I would buy a used car and then sell it before I left. And
yeah.
then when I lived overseas, I didn't even have my own vehicle. We drove, company cars. So
Yeah, so you really had
it's
no
different.
need for credit. But I mean, I would say the smart thing to do would be utilize a credit card as much as you can on monthly bills, expenses, because you can rack up travel points, cash back, things like
Yep,
that. If you're already going to spend the money and it's not going to hit you at any extra cost to utilize a credit card, it makes total sense. And like we were talking about how our business right now is obviously scaling, and why would we tie up?
yep,
So let me put it this way: if you can go get credit to scale a business and it makes sense to utilize that credit to scale a business, you absolutely should.
totally.
You should not utilize credit to buy any liabilities. You should just be using that credit to
I just
fuel
thought
a
about this
business,
yesterday. I just
you
thought
know?
about this yesterday. Like if you, and this is just me, like everybody's risk tolerance is different, but for me, unless I have almost a guarantee that I can borrow this dollar and make $1.50 from it in what I like, again, this is me, in a pretty quick amount of time. Um, yeah, that'd be the only reason I'm going to borrow that dollar because the service of money should be used intelligently. And oftentimes, unfortunately, I don't think that it is. And I'm generalizing. We got to, in this, talking about the majority of people, like a lot of people are using credit to buy things that aren't going to make them money. And, uh, I've just always been opposed to that. Or there isn't really a lot of strategy, I don't think, like happening in people's minds. Like they go out to buy this, 70, $80,000 car, and it's just to commute back and forth to work and go home. It's just, they don't even know how to like really write it off. Um, and I don't know, man. Unless I have this, like what we're talking about right now, specifically with the ERC thing, right? Scaling and exploring a, line of credit that we can tap into to offset costs. Like that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And
So
speaking,
basically,
we
so
do have a
the
meeting too
yeah.
Monday.
So the way that we would use credit is we would get a credit line and then we would use that credit line to pay our CPAs as they're coming up with estimated credits for our clients. So let's say that we have 5 clients that we process in the week and we owe our CPA $2,000 per client for doing all the legwork and crunching the numbers and putting their time and energy to calculate these estimates. Okay, cool. So 2,000 times 5, that's $10,000. But we know when we invest that 10,000, if each credit was, let's say, $1 million, okay, well, that's what, $5 million in credits that are going to be paid out. If we're making an average of 10% on each one, that's about $500,000 in net commissions. So we would be tying up $10,000 in capital to make $500,000 in net commissions. And that obviously is a no fucking brainer. You would want to use credit though, because, you know, as these checks take a while to pay out, right? So why would I go tie up my own capital if I can use the bank's money and I know it's just a matter of time before I can pay back the bank and I don't have my own capital tied up? It's just it's a smart way to operate. Credit should definitely not be used in every single business model, but there are a lot of times where credit makes more sense, and there are certain times where using your own liquidity makes sense. But yeah, definitely having above a 700 plus credit score is not just a good thing. It's a necessity. It really is. If you don't have a good credit score, you should be connecting with someone in your network that can help you wipe the negatives from your file and help you not only just wipe the negatives from your file, but eliminate the debt from the books of the creditors as well. Because that's the second step. Phase 1 would be get all your stuff wiped so it's no longer showing up on your report. The second phase would be wiping it from the ledgers of the creditors that held it against you in the first place. And you can do that, but there's specific knowledge and strategies that needs to be implemented, most oftentimes through attorneys or the court system, which people get freaked out by the court system, right? They're like, oh my God, I have to see a judge or talk to an attorney or whatever it is. It's like, yo, it's actually not scary once you understand it. You know, like it really isn't. But anyway, yeah. So credit's necessary. Let's move on to the next subject. What you got for me, Timmy?
How we
what
can like
questions?
get people's chats in here too, dude. Look at this. It doesn't show their name, so I don't know who LinkedIn user is, but he basically said definitely knowing about credit and having an understanding about the bureaus can certainly
Oh
help.
shit, we're on LinkedIn right now. I didn't even realize.
Yeah, we're on
we
LinkedIn.
were just clipping this.
No, dude, like I added it to everything. No, I think I added it to LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter.
Oh,
I don't know where else.
this whole
So,
time
yeah,
I'm talking like we're just getting clips, but meanwhile we're actually talking to live audiences.
We're on. So I don't know.
I told
if
you I
we
didn't
need
want
to
this live. I told you I didn't want it
but
live.
it's not on your YouTube. It's on Twitter.
All right, sounds good.
But let's
is it on my Twitter or no?
Looks like it. Yeah, I think. I don't know. I didn't even know Twitter had a live.
Yeah. All right.
I don't know. Should we do an introduction then, dude? Like or something? I don't know. Or we'll just keep
good.
diving.
I thought we were just clipping it up, dog. But
No,
we're already committed. So
let's
keep it going.
Let's talk about. So here, I got a couple questions pulled up in front of me, and I want to, because obviously you and I both have like entrepreneurs that follow us or that we could jive with.
Mm-hmm.
How would you suggest someone identifies their target market and reaches out to their potential customers as a startup? And let's assume, I think the majority of people don't have money. They're broke when they're starting a startup. So assuming that you're broke, how would you identify your target market and how are you going to reach out to those potential customers?
So if you have a startup, you're saying you're looking for potential customers?
Let's assume that you are a new startup. We'll just say a tech startup. You got a new app, you got a new software. And I want to know, as this new, again, picture yourself as a new startup. How do you identify your target market, like who you're going to sell to? And then how are you going to reach out to your potential customers to get them to buy your stuff?
Well, I mean, you should probably figure that out before you create a startup. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck, man? You don't create a product without realizing your audience first. The whole reason why, like with the ERC stuff, it was creating, first off, recognizing, all right, here's what people are already doing. You know, here's this program. There are companies out there that are processing these businesses. who is the avatar? It's people that have W-2 employees. How many of those people are out there? Okay, we could duplicate this. And then, there's social media that you can attack directly by putting your own content out there and getting people to click on your stuff. Then there are, paid advertising where you can run ads, obviously, and kind of force feed your content into people's feeds. And then there are affiliates. And I think that every single business out there should have some type of affiliate plan, whether it's, a 10% affiliate plan, 20%, 50%, whatever. And if you want to get more advanced with it, you should have 2 levels of affiliate plans, a 2-level affiliate plan, because what you're doing is you're allowing people to take advantage of leverage. Leverage is there's that quote. It's like, if I had a big enough lever, I could lift the world or whatever. And so leverage, if I'm talking to, let's say, a business owner directly, okay, that's I only know so many business owners myself. Maybe I got 20 business owners that I could make a call to today, and they'll pick up the phone and we can have a great conversation. But, once I'm tapped through my 20, I'm tapped through my 20. So thinking forward is like, all right, well, how do I get to another 20 business owners? Okay, well, I have to incentivize someone else to open up their contacts list to me. So what's going to make them want to open up their contacts list? It's going to be paying them. They're going to get some type of commission. So I would say, like, before you even create a startup, before you want to go create a company, you have to think of the product or analyze the competition. You want to do a mix of both. And then you want to analyze, like, who would be the ideal person to kind of become my customer. And then oftentimes, like, if you're selling, there are ways to really shortcut your way to success. Some of those ways would be like joining a mastermind group. The other day, I was just on a call with this guy named Los. He runs a mastermind group called Powerhouse, which I'll probably end up joining in the next couple months here. And yeah, sick. And the types of people that he has in his group are all making like anywhere from 5 million to 100 million a year in their companies. And it's like, all right, cool. You go join that group. It costs X amount of money to join that group. You join that group, and there's an immediate level of trust because the people that are in that room, they all fuck. They're not, like peasants that can't make money. It's like these guys are moving the needle. They're making money. They're your superior in some way, right? Like just as if you would be their superior in another way with your skill set. No one gets to $1 million per year by accident, or 10 million or 100 million. You get to those places on purpose. So with that being said, joining those mastermind groups, like a lot of them are probably just dog shit. They're just terrible, but there are ones that are real. There are ones that are legitimate, where the type of people, for instance, I might go spend 25 grand to go join his group, but one connection we makes us 500 grand worth of software development, worth of, ERC processing, whatever. So, you got to be creative in your strategies of affiliate plans, content, joining mastermind groups, and making strategic alliances with people that are all just on the same level or levels above you.
This is one that I just heard about. This is one that I just heard about through Steve, and they closed the War Room. That's one that I went to, and just it was a really qualified.
They closed it up?
Yeah, I think that the guys split. I don't want to say what happened or didn't happen, but I don't think War Room exists anymore. But I was just introduced to this. Can you see my screen when I do this? So this is Damon John, Ryan Dice, and then I'm drawing a complete blank on his name, Roland Frazier. But this is Steve was talking about this place, and I think it's like 50 grand a year for this one. But I've heard nothing but good stuff about it. I don't know if it'll be good or not, but just that's one that I've heard about too. So I love what you said too, because immediately when I asked you who would you go after as far as customer, or how would you identify your target market and then reach out to potential customers, you said that would already have happened when you're thinking about the product. And I don't think a lot of people think that way. Like when they're setting out to have a good idea, that's the first thing that people I think often do is I'm going to have a great idea. And they need to think about it, I think, the way that you were describing that you think about it, in which they are seeing a pain, seeing a problem, and immediately knowing who's experiencing that in order to then provide that service through the thing that they're building, whether it's a physical product or a digital, solution. And that's such a key nugget. Like if somebody's in the wheelhouse of, creating something, to first think about what sucks, what's going wrong, what's terrible, like all the bad negatives, and then associate that with who's experiencing it and how is this going to be an amazing solution for them. And I think it comes natural to people that have been entrepreneurs for a long time. Like we're typically really good about seeing things that are bad and immediately having the confidence on the idea of a solution. And I think oftentimes, people just stop at the idea phase too, it's lack of confidence or whatever. So yeah, man, I dig that. And it's funny how you
If you don't
immediately.
have like, bro, if you don't have the end in mind when you're starting, you're already finished. You're not going to do well. You need
Explain
to
that.
think things through to the point where the transaction hits your bank account, and then maybe even further beyond that, what you're doing with the money that's coming in, how you're utilizing it and recycling it for growth. Because going back to ERC stuff, it's like, okay, we recognize there are people that want this service, there are companies that are offering it. We could do development of our own company, build it out, service business owners, provide them a better service in certain ways, and then make X amount of money. And then what are we going to do with that money? We're going to be smart with the money. We're going to be putting it into other assets that create more cash flow, real estate. We were talking also about that assisted living centers.
Mm,
And it's funny that you brought that to my attention the other days, because I was already looking into that industry with quite a bit of curiosity. This was about
yeah.
4 or 6 months ago.
Hmm.
And I even had the conversation with Madeline, and I didn't bring it up to my parents, but I was like, this could be a family business. I don't know what all the red tape would be. And I've heard some people doing it, in my network in a unique way. And
Hmm.
it's like one of those problems with assisted living that it's extreme right now if you know enough about the industry, but it's going to become an epidemic in a way that, like, there's such big shortages for beds, because the current generation that retired and is going into assisted living, there's already a big shortage of housing for them for beds right now. And the boomer generation, which is the next generation to go into assisted living, is
Yep.
twice as big. So if there's
It's
a crisis now, what does that mean in the next 10 to 15 to 20 years? It means that there needs to be, not there is going to be, but there needs to be thousands of more people that open up assisted living centers. And
what
that could
was
be so much opportunity for people that are like first movers right now.
totally, and I think what was interesting about it for me was like the assisted living, like you can. Now, again, we're both new into this. It's kind of coming into our sphere, one, due to necessity, right? Like you and I are both in this chapter where our parents aren't getting any younger. Our parents aren't getting any more able bodied. Uh, we aren't getting any younger, more able bodied, but it's, thinking about taking care of the tribe and using money as a tool to grow and do good things with, build a bigger table. It makes sense. Like if somebody's in a predicament, which is inevitable, your parents are going to get older, and you can purchase a home, zone it, and qualify it to be uh, in code for assisted living, and then put a family member in there to cash flow that property. It makes a lot of sense. Now, all the prerequisites, all the documentation, all the details, we're unsure of right now, but I think this is a good thing for people outside looking in. It's like here's the perfect reality that we're facing an issue. Like this is way more even relevant for you, if you don't mind me even like saying, like your family member is in a situation where they need assistance. And so for you to be able to fund a property and qualify it, and then serve your direct family member, and do it in a 1-by-1 ratio. You don't necessarily have to have this massive facility and run it like that. You can run it in individual homes that are put up to code to be able to qualify for that. Yeah. So it's a really interesting, and I'm, behind the scenes, like I'm watching you go through this, and I'm thinking in the future about like my mom and dad and my wife's mom and dad, who are, I think they're in their 70s, and that time is going to come. And it's like, what's the best way that we can provide them really good care, uh, while not destroying our bank accounts or their bank accounts? And, it seems like a
Yep.
really viable option.
Yeah, if you could pay for your own parents or close family members assisted living with other people paying for assisted living, that's an ideal setup. You know? Like that would definitely be sweet to pull off because you're just zeroing out, and then you could turn it into a profitable business just by scaling it. So what I was thinking is, if like my line of thinking is this way: if there's already a crisis loading, there's somewhat of a crisis right now, and then it really turns into a massive crisis as the next generation needs assisted living. Well, we all know supply and demand, you know. So like if you open up a center or a facility where, let's say, 10 people could be housed there, but you make it more luxury
Mm-hmm.
because there's such a big demand and just not enough supply for that, you can charge higher rates. You can make a really profitable business, So
What was
that's where my mind goes, because it's like, man, it's like if you try to, there's only 21 people are like scarcity. There's only 21 million Bitcoins. That's why eventually it's going to go to $10 million a coin. Okay. Well, if again, the next generation is twice as big and they're having shortages now, what does that mean from a demand perspective versus, the pace of demand is going to outpace the growth of new facilities probably by like tenfold.
Yeah.
So if I opened up a facility with 10 beds, could I, maybe right now I would only be able to charge, let's say, 5,000 a month per bed. But if there's a crisis going on, you could easily charge 10,000 a month per bed. And then that's $100,000 per month business. And it's still the same amount of work as, you know what I mean, as it would be right now, but it's 5 times as much more or twice as profitable down the road. So if you have the vision to kind of see not what it is right now, but what it's going to be, that would be, it's kind of critical, really. So yeah, it's just that's where my mind is at right now with it. I'm definitely gonna pay more attention to this space, and as we hit it big with a few other things that we're doing, it's like, yeah, that might be a really great place to park cash. The only drawback with that type of business is just like physical brick and mortar style businesses
Mm-hmm.
come with so much, of a headache from like management positions and stuff like that, to
Just
where that's
costs,
why I just
utilities,
love
and then there's
I
different
just
levels
love
of
digital
care too.
business, man. I love digital businesses. And
Same.
that's like, even if, I could make so much money in a digital business, do I want to park it into a physical brick and mortar business? Even though it's not like a restaurant, you're still having to deal with people. You still have to have a person that's there. You probably have red tape with regulation. But if the money's right, the bigger the paycheck, usually the bigger the problems. But if you're smart enough, you can handle those problems.
Yeah, it's just new, I think. I mean, real estate makes a lot of sense. I love this concept specifically because it's service oriented. You're filling a need, and if you can help your family with while fulfilling this zoning need and support the community through it while making money, and I'm pretty sure some of that money comes into the state. I'm really invested in like learning how a lot of this stuff works and the process to get zoned and all the prerequisites to like get your house into or your facility, whatever, into this qualified assisted living center or establishment, domicile, whatever it's called. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out once you register. But I just again highlighting the solving problems. It's like, hey, here's this problem, this real world thing. We're, even as you start making money, you start making more money. Now now you're trying to figure out, how do I be a good steward of it? How do I grow it? How do I not blow it, or how do I evolve it right into the
Mhm.
next levels? And it requires figuring it out and finding unique solutions and finding unique, methods that have a high potential return. So this is just one of those things that kind of, I don't even remember where I found it, dude. I think it came across, like, it was an ad or something.
I
And then
saw
I
someone
watched a
on TikTok
podcast.
talking about it at first. This lady, this younger, she's like, I don't know, probably in early 30s, whatever. She was like, "Look, this is what I do." Because some guy had messaged, you know how people respond to comments on TikTok, and she had his comment posted up on the TikTok she was making, and the guy was like, "If this is such a lucrative business, why are you teaching it?" And this, that, the other, just one of those fucking haters. And she
Say
responded
hi
and
to
she said,
Tyler real quick.
"What up, Tyler?" She said she responded to this guy on TikTok and she said, first off, like, I make X amount per month from my assisted living centers, and there is such a big crisis loading that there has to be thousands more of people like me just to like meet the demand of the crisis that's coming up. So like, even if I taught 100 people from TikTok how to do this, I'm not making a dent in the saturation level. Like, she
Mhm.
really handled that question, and that the way she handled it, I was like, oh, that actually makes sense. Because you see a
Somebody,
lot of people pitch business models, and it's just fucking cringe. You're like,
yeah.
oh, just trash the way that they pitch it, the way that they respond to any criticism. Their egos are so big and they're so fragile at the same time. We can talk about that a little bit, but whenever I see someone eloquently explain a business model, like the financial incentives make sense, not just from like, I'm selling education, but I'm filling a need in the marketplace and the economy, then that's when I pay attention. And so that's what kind of sent me down the rabbit hole originally, understanding a
Mhm.
little bit about that. And my dad had brought up things in the past about like starting maybe a facility for special needs kids and stuff, because I have an autistic cousin,
Yeah.
and the state pays X amount, and it's like there's 10 kids in the house, and but you just have to deal with all this extra stuff with the manpower aspect. And I think since the pandemic happened, man, people don't really want to fucking work anymore, and it's really frustrating. For like, I go into restaurants, and just the level of service in a lot of these restaurants has gone down significantly. My
I
wifey
see a
got a
lot
massage
more
the other day, and she's
robots,
like,
dude.
it's just what is going on, man? Like, what is wrong with people? And it's because the government handed out a bunch of free money, was giving out, unemployment, this, that, the other, and people didn't want to work. And then people got kind of stuck in that because everyone else was stuck in it. And then it's just created this weird behavioral shift in society where it's normal to be a piece of shit and
We,
not work.
I mean, dude, I'm seeing more and more self checkouts. I'm seeing more and more technology that is going to replace the person that doesn't want to work. I saw the other day, it's like a robot that cleans the bathrooms at airports. It goes in and just like cleans everything, and then it buzzes out. Looks like what are those things that do the ice?
Oh, Zamboni.
Dude, it looked like a Zamboni. Like, it just drove itself in, did the dirty work, and dipped out. And I was like, dang, there goes that job eventually. Like, you'll have
Yeah.
one guy that's working on that thing and cleaning the turds out of it or something, and like,
Oh,
unclogging it, or adding
terrible.
the adding the mixtures. But then, like, dude, you go to McDonald's, and a lot of McDonald's now have the self checkouts. You go to grocery stores, self checkouts. But and some of that's good and some of that's bad. I mean, I appreciate somebody's desire to innovate, or make more money, and expend less time. I think that, like, owning your time is this valuable pillar in life. But if you have a shitty work ethic, like, if you're just like, if you don't want to work at all, like, that is not going to serve you in becoming
Hmm.
successful in any aspect of your life. Like, it's actually the opposite. If you're the guy that's cleaning toilets and you're doing so with like gratitude, like, I've got this job, I'm going to do the best that I possibly could do, like, refining that for you as an individual, and taking that as one of your characteristics across other jobs. And of course, I would, urge that person to find their ideal destination.
Yeah.
But that's what's going to make you rich is, gratitude, autographing your work with excellence, and um, yeah. But if you're just a lazy person, which I think you're hinting on is this what's happened, or if you're just tired, defeated, you know,
I think people just have a ton of dopamine that's getting hit from social media all the time, and they're looking at other people's lives and they just kind of feel shitty about themselves. And when you feel shitty, you do shitty when it comes to your just overall performance in life. And a lot of people are so I don't know, man. They're so docile in a way, like they're not willing to just go after it, right? I remember when we first started any business we've started together. There's been times where I've talked to other people like, and they've said, "Oh, do you think that's going to work?" I'm like, "I know it's going to work." What do you mean? I know it's going to work. And I guess I could be at my own detriment, just complete confidence in, I wouldn't say I have complete confidence because there's confidence in what I know I can do, and I'm also confident I can learn things that I don't know how to do yet. But it's not like I'm delusional in a way that I think I could just do anything. I'm cognizant of the fact that I can't just go do a 360 dunk. I am confident that maybe someday I could dunk if I did enough training because I could already hang on the rim right now, But like there are certain things where I realize the limitations of my abilities. Business in a lot of different businesses, I feel like I could go crush. I could go make millions of dollars. You put me in a field in real estate, I could go make millions. You put me in software, I could go make millions. But there's also like sub niches where I feel like I'd be more successful than and less successful. But yeah, so anyway, it's like when we talk about businesses and people's just work ethic and stuff, I just think in society today, people have such a they're so just like casual about their life. Like, dude, this is your life. You got a shot here to go live it how you want. You can go travel the world. You can go have children. Like, what kind of life do you want to live, man? You want to live just bored every day and unhappy? That's why it drives me fucking crazy when I hear people complain about the same thing all the time. You have those people in your life where you talk to them, and every time you talk to them, it's always like, I'm in for it again. And because they're talking about how their car's broken down, they're behind on bills, and their health is declining, and it's like you can give them tips or advice, and it just goes in one ear and out the other.
yeah.
And I mean, it's almost like I guess we need those people in society though at the same time, because if everyone was like us, society wouldn't function. You need the people that are more,
I tweeted
you
I
know.
tweeted something out the other day, man. I'm gonna share it. So it's to your point. You can see my screen, right?
Mhm.
Never tell someone why their idea can't work. Instead, tell them how something could work. This approach is more valuable than the endless line of dream suckers who come up with creative reasons as to why something won't work.
Yeah, because you can
Right?
always be the pessimist, right?
Yeah, and it's
It's way
easy. And
easier
and,
to
and
come up
like,
with
dude,
negative
I
things.
don't want anybody around me that the moment I'm dreaming and like having an idea and I've got like a strong sense that it's achievable to immediately start hitting me with the things that could go wrong and the things
Mhm.
that don't. Like I get that, and that's going to be a part of my equation. But when I'm around you and I'm dreaming and I'm inspired, I need you to fuel that fire or get away from me. Like
Mhm.
there's plenty of people that are the opposite of dream enhancers. Like there's no shortage of people that are going to have their own fear
Yeah.
that they try to put on you. And it's like if you are somebody that's surrounding yourself, or you don't have anybody that's fanning the flames to what's possible, you need to get out of that room immediately, or you will never, like, you'll never launch anything. Like,
Yeah.
because and you have to have, I appreciate your high belief level in yourself, even if it's radical, because most of the time, like, it requires a
Dude, you gotta be
radical.
kinda psycho. You gotta be
Yeah.
kinda psycho to see success because the odds are that you won't, The odds are that you won't build a successful business. The odds are you will fail. So, you need to take an approach where, like, you've really convinced yourself. And also, I do believe that, um, when things at least in my personal experience, when things are meant to be, weird coincidental things keep happening. Like I remember when I was in network marketing back in the day, and I was building a company called Wake Up Now. Like that was my first real MLM that I built, and I ended up talking to someone on social media, and that one person introduced me to this guy, Faustin, and Faustin was like, "Oh, I got a team of like 100 people from this other company, and we want to join you." And it was like, just boom. I remember that like catapulted me through the ranks of MLM, like finding people that already had like pre-existing teams and like just giving them a better company to work within. And I just kept on repeating it. It was like everything was just rolling for me. And I realized like from an energetic perspective, like I guess I was supposed to be there at that time. I was in the right place at the right time with the right opportunity, and I met the right people, and it just things started happening. A lot of times in business, people are like fighting the tide. It's that sunk cost fallacy that we've talked about in the past, where it's just like they're losing and they just keep on investing into the losers. And you know, it's like if you play a sport and you're just kind of naturally good at a sport, because like for me, I'm not good at hockey. I'm way better at, let's say, basketball than I am at hockey. So if I just like focused in on playing basketball as my sport, my business, I'd probably get a lot further ahead with basketball than I would with hockey, right? Just because like I'm just not naturally good at it. I don't have a base, a foundation with that. And I'm just saying, like from a recreational
That's
standpoint,
good to
obviously I'm
know
not going
though,
to the
man.
NBA.
That's oh, you're
You
not?
know,
No, I think that's good to know, man. And some people don't know they can't sing, or some people don't know that they're not good at
yeah,
hockey,
they're tone deaf
right?
as fuck, and no one in their network's telling them like, dude, you
Yeah,
suck.
like, and again, like back to real friends, someone that can help you, and there's a respect to it, right? There's a methodology to communicate with people and give them some real gut checks, but
Hmm.
also there's some self responsibility too. Like you gotta yeah, there's a balance, I guess. So in one side of this, it's like you want to have extreme confidence and beliefs in your ability,
But
and
you
you
also need to
can
be cognizant of what's happening, right? So you could
exactly.
really believe that you're going to crush it in a business, but time is the enemy. So like if you're just constantly spinning the wheels and not gaining any traction after a period of time, you should definitely give it up,
Yeah.
because how much more time are you going to waste, right?
And that's what I've done. So like with regard, like back to building a digital business, like, typically for us, it started with like an early bird list, or seeing an existing competitor that's already driving a lot of revenue. And that's what clears the path of this is going to work because it already is. Like, and we have to, here's the key things that are going to make us better, the logical choice, and we can tap into this existing, growing market. And, that's where you got to think, I guess. But, what was the next question I'm going to ask you, broski? This is cool, by the way. Are you able to click these little chats? Can you do all that on your end, Logan?
Let's see, it says hide chat, show chat.
Like go to comments. Can you see all the comments
Yeah, I can.
and branding? I'm just curious how this is going to save, because we want to take this and make shorts. We can tell people what we're doing too. Like the
Yeah.
idea was to have a live streaming platform.
Tim didn't
So we
tell me that we were going to be streaming to everything, so I'm over here just like thinking, "Oh, I'm just going to get clips." And meanwhile, he's like, "Nah, dude, you're talking to everyone live." All right, cool.
I think you can delete it. I was just looking at my Twitter, right, and I
I,
saw
I
that there's like
deleted
a
it off my
place.
tweeter. I'm like my tweeter,
Your
my
tweeter.
fucking tweeter.
Yeah, man. So
But it is
I
probably
don't
on
know.
my LinkedIn, and I should get this off like my LinkedIn.
No, we didn't add it to your LinkedIn.
We didn't.
No, it wouldn't let me do both. It's on mine
God,
right now, apparently.
God. Well,
Which is fine. I wanted to test this out too, man, to see what it was like to go do this whole thing. This
sweet.
is
Well,
cool.
I gotta run, bro. I gotta jump on a
Yeah.
couple more calls in a little bit here, and I know you're headed out to Florida, so I got to figure out my camera too. I know that there's a different setting on there to where I can
Yeah, play
I
around
can
with it.
adjust the lighting a little bit and stuff, and make it a little bit more clean for these live streams. So I'm going to be messing around with this after that.
Play around with it, and then let's put some topics together so we can actually just kind of jive and set up this little play board, and then just go through,
Yep.
however we want it to
Sounds
roll.
good, bro. All right.
Gonna
Well,
end
good
it.
little stream. Talk to you in a little bit.
See you, man.